Let's go over what are the false claims that VPN companies make and exactly why they are false. If we go to any VPN website, they will have statements like that they are protecting you from data breaches, hacking attacks, snoopers, and there is one solution to fight them all, a VPN, while also stating that you can achieve online privacy effortlessly just with a VPN. This is not a single company claiming these things. Every single one is doing the same. Additionally, these companies state that they don't keep any logs of your activity, while at the same time, they charge based on how many devices or how many connections you have to a server. How can a server keep no logs but know how many devices or connections you have? And how is this connected to my payment history and payment details? To understand why all of these claims are false, we first need to define what a VPN is. For this, we can go to a VPN site that has a 2026 guide on it and start from there. If your device is connected to the internet, your internet service provider can see everything you do, every search, every file you download, everything. The first sentence in the explanation is already false. Your ISP cannot see everything. You cannot see the contents of encrypted data sent over the network. And this guide will say exactly this later on. To protect their privacy, more people are using virtual private networks, or VPNs for short, to stop companies from tracking what they do online. We will come back to this statement a little bit later. A VPN is an app that keeps your internet connection private. It was already stated that a VPN is a virtual private network, and a network cannot be an app. Virtual private networks protect by creating an encrypted tunnel that all of your device's data travel through on their way to the internet. Encryption turns words and data, like text files, into a secret code. If someone tries to read that encrypted data without the password, they will see some random gibberish. In the most common case, your device connects to a network, and that network accesses the internet through an ISP. When you browse the web, your device makes connections to the servers of the websites you want to use. Now, those connections can be encrypted or not. But in 2026, 95 to 99% of all internet traffic is encrypted, according to Google, who gets that data from Google Chrome. And for those of you who just use social media and the top 500 websites, that number is 100%. In that case, your ISP will know who are you connecting to and when are you sending data to that service. In the case of a VPN, you are just connecting to the VPN, and the VPN is connecting to these services instead of you. These connections are of the same type, meaning the original connection that your device used was encrypted. The VPN will also use the same type of connection. Back on our guide website, they say that TunnelBear makes your data unreadable between you and its destination. This is a false statement, as no VPN can control what type of connections they make between themselves and the servers they are trying to connect to. The explanation fails to mention anything about DNS and how that works while connected to a VPN. So when you are trying to use any website, you need to know the IP address of the server you want to connect to. And DNS is the system that maps domain names like youtube.com to an IP address of those servers. And the one who controls DNS, or the name server that you use, can see all of the domains you're trying to access. So even while on a VPN, if you use the ISP name servers, the ISP will know all of the websites you visited. To avoid this, you can use DNS over HTTPS. So your ISP does not get this information. The guide should at least mention this, even if the company does not have its own name servers. And this is where all of the explanations of what a VPN is stop. But just with this, we can disprove that VPN gives you effortless privacy or protects you from data breaches. When you are using any website, the IP that you use is just one of the many data points that they collect. The device you're using can give them way more information than just a single IP address. The EFF has a website where you can check all of the info your device has to offer, including information about your web browser, your time zone, language, operating system, cookies, fonts you have installed, your hardware specification like total memory, CPU, screen size, touch support, and fingerprint, how they all work together with canvas and audio context fingerprinting. A VPN also does not protect any data you give up voluntarily, like an email address, your passwords, pictures, bank or credit card information that is stored on servers of the services that you use. And if the data breach happens, a VPN has no control over it. Another point that VPNs love to make is protecting you from compromised networks, but if the vast majority or all of your traffic is already encrypted, they offer no additional benefit. And they always exaggerate the public networks are compromised to the point where advertising regulators have called them out on this behavior. Ask yourself, what was the last time you used the public Wi-Fi and not just your mobile data? And even if the network is compromised, why would the hackers snoop on or attack you when they have better options like deploying ransomware on the owner of this network? Now that the most common false claims are addressed, we can continue on our explanation of how a VPN works. If a VPN provider also offers a DNS solution, it now has all of the data that the ISP used to have. You are just transferring ownership of it and trusting that the VPN will not give this data to anybody else or that they do not collect it at all. In the defense of ISPs, they operate in a regulated industry. And in places like the EU, they have to follow GDPR and handle your data accordingly. VPN companies are private and based in locations where there is almost no regulation on how they operate. But if making false claims on their website homepage not convince you of their trustworthiness, why not investigate a company that owns multiple popular VPNs? To know more about Cape Technologies, visiting their website provides a good overview of their activities and history. In May 2023, it delisted off the London Stock Exchange and went private, while the company is still based in London with a development center in Tel Aviv, Israel. And on December 2021, it bought ExpressVPN. That same year, in September, the Chief Information Officer of ExpressVPN agreed to pay a $300K settlement to the US government for charges relating to creating two similar zero-click computer hacking and intelligence gathering systems that leverage servers in the United States belonging to a US technology company. Just an interesting coincidence, I suppose. And previously, it also bought Private Internet Access in 2019 and CyberGhost in 2017. What's most interesting is the things it does not list, like the acquisition of VPN review sites like Safety Detectors and VPN Mentor. Also, what did it do from 2011 to 2017? That's 6 years of nothing worth mentioning at all. You will not find anything in that time period because the company was originally known as Crossrider until the name change in 2018. The reason for that, as the CEO put it, strong association to the past activities of the company. What are the past activities that Crossrider engaged in? Something called ad injection. Looking at the paper Ad Injection at Scale by Google researchers explaining that ad injection reigns as one of the most lucrative strategies for monetizing browser traffic. And in the section discussing top affiliates, they note that this is particularly apparent for Superfish and Intex nav links, where the top affiliate, Crossrider, controls 42 to 44% of the market share. Crossrider is a mobile, desktop, and extension development platform that enables drop-in monetization via major ad injectors. Crossrider provides its affiliate ID to ad injectors while separately tracking kickbacks to developers. Some might say that they were just exploited by bad actors and had bad security, like the co-founder of the acquired Private Internet Access. Let's read the comment. This article and articles like this miscast Cape in an incorrect light. To be clear, in the past, the company was known as Crossrider and provided developer SDKs that could be used to integrate with browsers. Unfortunately, Crossrider didn't do enough to prevent malware, and the platform was used by some bad people for bad purposes. When the new management team of Crossrider took over, I'd like to add info that the previous CEO was a member of the Israeli intelligence service, they immediately ceased to engage in previous business and focused on the opposite due to insights they gained from watching nefarious developers abuse their platform. With the focus on security and privacy, they changed their name to Cape, and further, the new company will be called Private Internet, and it will be purely focused on privacy. This did not happen. In the merger between Cape and Private Internet Access affords PIA the resources needed to bring privacy to the mainstream. The company can now be decentrally owned by the people, and public reporting requirements are much stronger than those for private companies. As previously noted, the company did go private in 2023, maybe because of the less strict reporting requirements. Couple this with a new random audit program we are going to launch, and it's transparent as it gets. I think this is a classic case of we audited ourselves and found nothing wrong. And it's exactly the direction we at PIA want to go, where our users no longer need to just trust us. Instead, our actions are and will continue to be verified. Ultimately, the choice of a VPN is yours, but transparency and verification, and with most VPN companies being incredibly secretive about their operations, who's behind it and where they are located, what they do with their funds, etc., I stand behind the move to bring more transparency to privacy. I won't comment because everything he says went the opposite way. Company has always practiced sustainable karma, wherein we do what's best for the people / what the people want, and that allows us to make a living doing what we love. That's not going to change. Later on, he went to reply to a comment saying, the fact that you have to explain that the company that bought you is not shady is writing on the wall. But before we read the response from Andrew, it's nice to know more about who Andrew is. He is the self-proclaimed king of a cyber nation, which is apparently the successor of the Korean Empire, while at the same time being the crown prince of Korea. And before founding Private Internet Access, he made Mt. Gox Live, which he then sold to Mt. Gox, and we all know what happened there. Trust is a fleeting concept. If you use PIA only for the trust and not for the verifiable transparency, then we have failed you. You do not trust some random VPN on the internet. Anyone could have set it up. You can only verify you don't trust. PIA will continue on its mission to increase transparency and set a new standard and expectation in the industry. Again, none of this happened at all. With PIA, we will make sure you know what you are getting. Some may choose not to go with PIA, and that's beautiful freedom. For the rest, I'm confident people will choose verifiable transparency over blind trust. And then, in my opinion, the best comment in this whole thread: how do you propose we verify transparency? I legitimately have no idea how I can verify what specifically is running on your servers. It seems to me that the entire VPN industry has a huge inherent information asymmetry problem, since it's incredibly difficult for an end consumer to confirm any claims a provider makes about the quality of their product. Economic theory tells us that this results in a market for lemons. This is a famous economic paper on used cars, and you can apply it anywhere that the seller has more information than you and is rewarded by not disclosing that information. For example, house flipping, and here in VPNs, we just end up with a bunch of low price, low quality products provided by shady companies because it simply isn't cost effective to compete against those options with a quality product whose quality can't be verified. For a technically savvy end user, you are probably better off rolling your own VPN with open source software you compile yourself rather than trusting any of these black box VPN providers. I 100% agree with this statement, and if you are looking for a guide on how to do it correctly, I linked one in the description. It's by the Chinese community. They have an actual real need for it because of the Great Firewall. So what are the activities where a VPN is actually useful and a net benefit? The most obvious one is accessing region block content and circumventing network or ISP blocks. If you just use it for region block content, a proxy will also be enough, and in most cases cheaper and faster while giving you a residential IP. Protecting your IP address from exposure. If you use certain software or games where it exposes your real IP, that puts you in risk of doxing, harassment, or DDoS attacks. And for peer-to-peer file sharing, a VPN works, but it's increasingly getting put on the prohibited activities list, and using a seed box with private trackers is the better option. For creating and operating pseudonyms or fake identities, a VPN is a reasonable option when the consequence of exposure is low and the attacker trying to dox you cannot access traffic logs from both your ISP and the VPN data center. It's trivial to de-anonymize you in that case. In general, do not trust just the VPN for this or combine it with Tor or other networks. If you want to do any of these things and not set up your own VPN, the only VPN that I found that makes no false claims is iVPN. They have very good privacy guides and sections about using your VPN along with Tor and just general OPSEC suggestions. Thank you for watching the whole video, and I hope you found some of the information at least useful.